Welcome to this episode of Unraveling Adoption, an intentional space to delve into adoption's complexities together. I'm Beth Syverson. I'm an adoptive mom of a resilient and wise 20-year-old son, Joey. I'm walking beside him while working on my own personal growth and healing. Joey and I are committed to helping anyone impacted by adoption, and we want to help the general public understand adoption's complexities better too. I'm also a certified coach, helping seekers who want to move their lives forward. Well, when we talk about adoption's complexities, this episode today is about as complex as it gets. This is the part of adoption no one talks about and no one wants to think about, but this is the kind of the shadow part of adoption, and it is a real life story that has affected a real life person, a real life family, and many other families like this. So today's episode is especially pertinent for people who are impacted by intercountry adoption, like my family. And I wonder, listeners, if you realize that in some cases, the paperwork for intercountry adoptees goes awry and the adopted person who grew up in the U.S. was never a citizen. Well, today we're going to talk to an intercountry adoptee about his experience being deported as an adult to a country he left as a child, Ethiopia. This episode will open your eyes to the extreme complexities that can be present when we adopt from other countries, and when the systems that run the adoption machine aren't considering the impact on the adopted person. So hang on to your hats for this story, everyone, and listen for ways we can all help people who are deported or who are at risk of deportation, like our guest.
Quick note here, the audio quality is not great on this episode because we zoomed around the world for this. And also our guest has an Ethiopian accent. And if you have any trouble understanding him or any of us, I encourage you to look for the transcript, look below or to the side of your episode player, and you'll find the show notes, and I will have the transcript link prominently displayed there. It might be good to listen and read at the same time.
Joining me today is Mike Davis. He was adopted as an 8-year-old from Ethiopia in 1976 by an African-American single father who was a U.S. Army officer. He was raised in the U.S., ran several small businesses, got married, and had kids. Then in the mid-1990s, he found out he was not, in fact, a U.S. citizen, even though his father had done the necessary adoption paperwork for both the U.S. and the Ethiopian governments. He was deported to Ethiopia in 2005, where he knew no one, didn't speak the language, and had to rely on his own wits to survive. He is now 61 years old, and he's been in Ethiopia for over 20 years. He continues to challenge his case so he can return home to his family and friends in the U.S. In addition to being unable to live in the U.S., he is unable to draw on the Medicare or Social Security benefits he contributed to while working in America for decades. Later in the program, we will also bring in Maureen, an adoptive parent friend of mine who has championed Mike's cause and created a GoFundMe to help with his legal and medical expenses. The GoFundMe link will be in the show notes if you feel led to help out. Oh, thank you for being here on Unraveling Adoption, Mike. I'm glad you're here. It's good to know you.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to unravel this thing, unravel this super big knot of complexities. Oh my goodness. When I heard your story for the first time, I was like, what? This can happen? Oh my goodness. And I bet a lot of people are in that place right now. And I wanted people to hear the scariest part for me when you told me your story was the day that you flew to Ethiopia and they just sort of dumped you there, not knowing anyone and not knowing the language, not having any money, no nothing, just the clothes on your back. And I wondered if you could start there, and then we'll kind of work our way backwards and explain your story. Can you explain that day? I bet you remember it in vivid detail, I'm going to guess.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, very much so. Well, we flew to the airport. Once we got to the airport, I was advised just to go straight on up at the door. I have a luggage, but it didn't belong to me. It belonged to someone else.
Okay.
Whose size is very big, and I'm structure small. This guy's big.
They gave you somebody else's luggage?
Yes.
They didn't give you your own clothes or anything?
No, I don't have nothing. Only the clothes on my back.
Only clothes on your back. And you're coming from INS detention, right?
Yeah, INS detention.
Okay.
They drove me from Louisiana to Atlanta, and
Okay.
I flew out of Atlanta.
Okay. So they just basically sent you with the clothes on your back.
Yeah.
You fly to Ethiopia with a marshal or somebody?
Yeah, they have deportation officers with me.
Okay. And they said just walk out the airport door and have a good life?
Yeah, don't say anything. Yeah.
Good luck?
Good luck. But I had an account in my image book,
Okay.
about $285.
Okay.
But they gave me the check, and I couldn't cash the check. They had promised they was going to cash the check for me, but they didn't do it.
Okay, so they gave you a paper check, which obviously would not work in Ethiopia, and they never cashed it for you. This was like from your account in the INS detention center, right? Like
That's right.
vending machine money or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so you couldn't even use that $25. So what did you do?
$185. What I did was I talked to the officer to let me borrow at least, give me some money. I'll pay him back.
Okay.
And he gave me $20.
He gave you $20. Okay.
Mm.
20 US dollars, right?
$20.
Okay.
I promised to pay him back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you do in a brand new country after flying for probably, I don't know how long does it take to get to Ethiopia?
About 17 hours.
Oh, my lordy. 17 hours in an airplane, knowing that you're going to be just dropped off. Where's the first place you went?
I went to the lounge, sat there for a while because this was early in the morning.
Okay.
I did my little prayer and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Everything was closed. We arrived early in the morning.
Wow.
The sun come up when it started to daytime. I talked to some guys where I could find a taxi, and I talked to a taxi driver, and I told him to take me to the American embassy.
Okay.
It was like on Saturday morning.
Saturday. So you had a weekend. Shoot.
It's a weekend.
Okay.
Once I got to the airport, the guy, I told him I don't have no money. The only thing I had was $20 US dollar bill. And I don't know how much the exchange rate was, but he agreed. He said he would take me. And I told him about my situation. I was just dropped off here.
Yeah.
And if you could take me to the American embassy, later on I could pay him back. He was kind enough to take me to the embassy, which is a little far away.
Okay.
Once I get to the embassy, I talked to the guards. They told me that, they were closed. And I told them I was a U.S. citizen. And I showed them some of my adoption paperwork and stuff.
Okay.
So they called an officer on a duty. I talked to him on the phone. I told him my situation. He said he can't do nothing for me. This is your country, live in it.
Oof. That's our American embassy said that to you?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
But he was nice. He was talking to me, come back Monday.
Okay. There's nothing you could do on the weekend. Okay. Jeez.
Weekend, yeah.
Okay, so where did you go for 2 days then?
I still got the same taxi guy. He took me to the hotel.
Okay.
So I'll be able to go home where they have a phone. I can make phone calls.
Okay.
Got a hotel. And I stayed in the hotel until Monday morning.
Did your wife wire you money, or how did you pay for the hotel?
No, the taxi driver paid for it, but I promised him that I'll pay him back Monday when my wife's on.
Oh, what a nice guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of them cheap hotels. So.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not the Marriott, huh?
No, it's not no Marriott, none of that stuff.
Okay, but it is a place to stay.
It's a place to stay, and then I was able to use the phone, so I could make a late call.
Okay.
I don't have no mobile phone or nothing like that. Yeah.
Oh, man. On that weekend, did you have any idea that you would still be there 20 plus years after?
No.
Or did you think, I'll just make a few calls and I'll fix this all up?
I thought I'll go to the embassy and I'll clear this up.
Yeah.
That I was adopted legally and I was a U.S. citizen.
Uh-huh.
I thought it would be cleared right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it didn't. It didn't happen. I'm still here.
So what happened? I'm an adoptive parent and I adopted a child internationally. And I tell you, your story makes me a little nervous. I'm like, I went and looked up his paperwork. I'm like, my son have citizenship. I mean, this is a serious issue. And I hope any intercountry adoptive parent right now is listening. Better go check this out. What did you find out was the problem? Did someone do something wrong, or was something not quite done? What happened?
This is a good question. First of all, me and my father, we never talked about adoption. He never showed me the paperwork of what he went through to get me adopted. We never talked about it. So I don't have no idea what happened.
Okay.
And I find out when I was detained for about 2 years. When I was detained, I filed habeas corpus to the district court where I was detained at.
Uh-huh.
And when the government responded to my habeas corpus, they sent some documents. Whenever they file the documents to the attorneys, to the court, they have to file it to me too. That's when I find out how my adoption went through.
Okay, so you've got your adoption papers through asking the courts for your paper. Okay, so your dad, did he not have the papers, or he just wouldn't talk to you about it?
We never talked about it.
Okay, you knew you were adopted though, because you were 8.
Yeah.
But it was not an open topic.
I have my adoption degree.
Okay.
I found out when I was adopted, was approved I-600. I-600 is petition for orphans.
Okay.
The first one was denied, and he appealed it instantly, and it was approved.
Oh, okay. Did that have something to do with why your citizenship didn't go through?
No, that's not it. What happened was, when my dad adopted me from my dad, while my adoption being processed, my grandmother, his mother, was sick, and he had to leave Ethiopia on emergency. And he wanted me to come in with him.
Okay.
He wanted me to meet my new grandmother before she passed away.
Okay.
So he got a visa, NP1 visa. It's a temporary visa.
Okay.
So I'll be introduced to my new grandmother. We stayed in the state for about, I say 2 weeks or maybe a month. We went back to Ethiopia.
Okay.
During this time, my adoption process was on appeal, was being processed.
Okay.
That's my first visa. On my second visa, my I-600 was approved. I was adopted as an orphan. And I was issued IR3 visa, my last visa.
Okay.
That's what happened. They're using my first visa for me to be called.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yes.
But it seems like you could just say, well, I have this other visa, so let me go home now. But
We've been trying to get the State Department to release my visas. We've been having a very hard time.
wow. And what? God, it's just so maddening. I can imagine how angry you must be. I'm like, yeah. And I just met you. I can't imagine living with this injustice day in and day out. How do you cope with it?
By not giving up.
Yeah. So you continued fighting the legal case?
Yes.
Wow. And are you still married to the woman you married in the U.S.?
Yes, I am. I'm still married to her.
And has she come to join you, or does she visit? Or
when I first got removed here, I have 2 kids by her. When I was first deported, it was like 5 and 12 years old.
Oh, little kids. Okay.
Yeah, very little kids. Yeah. My wife and my kids, they stand good. This is really unfair injustice for them.
Yeah.
This should never happen to nobody, no adoptees.
Absolutely.
But so what she did was, I had a piece of business. We bought a house, and we live in the American country.
Sure.
I was building my family. When I was deported, like I told you, there was 5 and 12 years old. My wife sold the house, and my pizza shop was closed. She sold the car and everything, and she brought the kids here with me.
Okay.
They're supposed to be staying here forever.
Oh, they moved. They thought they were going to move there.
Yeah, but I think it was very difficult for her. Unfamiliar culture, language difficulties, and it was very hard for them.
And your wife is white, I think you told me, right?
She's Caucasian, yeah.
Yeah, so she can't just like blend in with the Ethiopian culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. So they tried living in Ethiopia and they're like, nope, I can't do this.
It becomes very difficult for them.
So she and the kids moved back to the U.S.?
Yeah, they moved back to America.
And there's no way, you can't even come visit the U.S. They won't let you come, right?
No, they won't let me. No.
Wow. I just can't imagine being there for 20 years, day in and day out.
I did all I could. We filed extreme hardship for my family and everything, and nothing go through. Nothing go through.
Wow.
Just circle around circle.
What is the story that you tell yourself about why this happened to you?
I always ask myself that, but some things happens. There's some bad people on this world.
Yeah, does somebody have it out for you? Do you feel like that?
No, just uneducated immigration personnel, especially during the time that I was deported.
Yeah.
Many people don't know the immigration law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're trying to fight the law. So let's go backwards a little bit to when you kind of got in trouble and got sent to INS detention. What prompted someone to go, hey, you're not a citizen? What caused that to happen?
What happened was in 1991 and 1993, I'm in my 20s during this time. I got hooked up with some friends, and I got a position of a joint. Marijuana is a joint, and a little cocaine and $100 bill, and it was a position charge.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. It's a marijuana charge? Is that what you said?
Yes, it's a joint.
Marijuana?
Yeah, rolled up marijuana.
You had a joint rolled in a $100 bill? This is all over a joint?
A joint, and I have cocaine and dollar bill.
And cocaine. Oh, okay. Okay, so marijuana, cocaine in a $100 bill.
I was at a friend's house. They busted the door, and then they also found a gun.
Okay.
Which is an antique gun. Don't even shoot.
Okay.
I like to collect all guns.
Okay.
And I had all German pistol.
Okay.
Yeah. For all these charges, I was sentenced to 3 years probation and 120 days boot camp.
Wow. Okay. So that's a whole nother injustice about the drug war. So I'm just going to try not to even go there. Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast. So you kind of have this scrape with the law. And then is that when someone said, hey, I'm looking at your paperwork here and something's not lining up?
Yes. What happened was my probation officer was a friend of mine. Well, not a real friend of mine, but we used to go to school together. She played in a football team, and she know me very well. She know I was adopted.
Okay.
I guess she notified the INS.
So she threw you under the bus?
Yeah. I don't think she knows it was causing me this much harm. So she instructed me to go to the INS office in Atlanta. This was in 1993. which I did.
Okay.
When I went to the INS office in Atlanta, they look at my A number, they could not find it for nothing.
Okay.
And they just told me, send me home.
And at that point, were you super worried, or were you just like, oh, well, this will get resolved?
No, I wasn't worried about it because since I was adopted, I thought I was automatic American citizen. I just have to show my adoption paper. I went to my dad.
Yeah.
I told the immigration looking for me. They want me this, and he gave me my adoption paperwork.
Okay.
So I took that to court.
Okay. And what did they say there?
I showed the immigration judge my adoption paperwork, and I told him I was adopted and everything. He heavily advised me get an attorney. This was in 1996.
Okay.
And I went to get an attorney. It was very expensive.
Sure.
And the law wasn't that well known as it is now.
Yeah.
So I went back to the court again, to the immigration judge. I could not afford an immigration lawyer. Very expensive. And he heavily advised me to get an attorney. All right. I found an attorney, which was not an immigration lawyer.
Okay.
And he said he could handle it and charge me about $3,000, something like that.
Okay.
I paid him, and he appeared in court with me. He notified the attorney, told the judge that I was U.S. citizen by adoption. And the judge just said, prove me a citizenship, give me a passport.
Okay.
So my cool attorney, he went to talk to some people in immigration offices and stuff like that. He came to me, said, go apply for a U.S. passport at the post office.
Okay.
I did, and they denied me. Post office denied me. After that, I called my attorney. What can I do? He'll never respond. That was the end of it. Yeah.
He just took your money.
He got some bad advice from some other people. Like I told you, he was not an immigration lawyer.
Yeah, it is a very specific part of law, I'm sure. But then they charge, oh, gosh. Oh, man, I am so sorry this happened to you, Mike. I am just, it makes me so mad. I just feel like you had nothing to do with any of this. You were victimized by a couple of bad systems, our justice system and the adoption system and the criminal justice system. And I just feel so upset.
Yeah.
But I see that I guess you've had a while to think about this, but you're working hard on your case, but you seem to have a sense of inner peace. And I want to know how you do that.
I don't know, by grace of God.
Yeah. So your faith has helped you a lot?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah. And I bet you have a lot of other people praying for you too.
There was plenty of times, believe me, that I want to give up.
I'm sure.
My dad didn't raise me like that.
I'm sure. And you've created a life for yourself in Ethiopia. I think you said you built another pizza business and things like that.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. So I always...
Okay, yep.
First, nice. I worked with a guy trying to open up a dustpan throughout the city. That we did pretty good with that.
A what throughout the city?
It was called Keep Ethiopia Beautiful. They was having a problem with dustpans on the street. People were throwing papers and stuff like that on the street. So I got together with this guy. We started our own dustpan business.
Wow, to keep the streets clean.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow, you're just fascinating.
I didn't have no money, but it was my ideas and my friend. And we worked with the government. So I allowed us to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Second one, I opened up a vegetable stand, selling vegetables like tomatoes, onions, avocados, all kind of stuff.
Okay.
They keep stealing from me, so it was very hard. Yeah.
Shoot. Oh my gosh. And what are you doing right now?
I'm not doing right now nothing really. I'm not too healthy and
okay. Working on your health?
I've got problem. Yeah.
Oh, gout. Oof, that's hard. That's painful. And you're probably working on your case a lot, I'm going to guess.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I bet that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder how you met Maureen, who is here with us today, too. And if you'd like to introduce Maureen and what she's done with and for you.
She helped me survive. Without her, I could not make it. Yes.
Ah, how long have you known each other?
5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years, I'd say.
And how did you meet Maureen?
We met because Mike had told his story. We are fairly close in age. I'm actually a little older than Mike is, but we met because his story might have been on Adoptees for Justice or something like that. And I am the adoptive parent of 4 now young adults, including twin daughters from Ethiopia. So I have been involved with the Ethiopian adoption community for quite a while. We were in the process of putting together an anthology called Lions Roaring Far From Home, an anthology by Ethiopian adoptees. And it was coincidence more than anything, but we were able to include Mike's essay in the book and his story. So that was kind of how that happened together.
Okay.
I had also been involved and aware of the complexity around citizenship and the fact that it was the 94 immigration law that mandated anybody who was not a U.S. citizen who committed a crime could be deported. And that the range of crime could depend on, it could be very minor, could be very major. And adoptees have been deported as a result of that. In 2003, the Child Citizenship Act became law, and that made all incoming adoptees under the age of 18 automatic U.S. citizens. They still have to go through the paperwork, depending on the visa, but they are U.S. citizens upon arrival in the United States. It did not cover, though, the tens of thousands of adoptees who are over 18.
Yeah.
And I think, and you kind of had talked about this a bit, Beth, I think an awful lot of people, and probably this includes Mike's dad, believed that international adoptees were U.S. citizens upon arrival in the United States. Why wouldn't they be?
Yeah.
Why would you have to go through a whole naturalization process when you had arrived through the laws of the country of origin and the United States? Everybody had signed off.
Yeah.
So it's been very heartbreaking to see what has happened to Mike, absolutely, and to many other adoptees. And of course, there are older adoptees who may not even know that they are not citizens.
Yeah.
And then they find out they also, if they're still here in the United States, they don't qualify for Social Security benefits. They don't qualify for Medicare. And it's also very heartbreaking. They may not have had any trouble with the law, but not being U.S. citizens puts them in a very dangerous position.
So they are at risk for being deported and also just don't get any of those benefits that they've paid into their whole career.
And it's also very, I think, just personally heartbreaking, the idea that they're not U.S. citizens. They very much consider themselves Americans. This is their country. This is their home. This is their family.
Of course.
And they may have connections to their country of origin, no question about that, but they feel that they are part of America, that they were adopted here, welcomed here, yet they have this liability. They could have voted in an election, and it's a felony for non-citizens to vote, for example.
Wow. So many ramifications. I know my son doesn't feel like he's fully Japanese or fully American, kind of in between land. And then to be told, yeah, you're not a citizen after all, what that must do to an adoptee's psyche and soul, because you're already feeling kind of like an outsider. And then they say, well, you are an outsider, actually.
Absolutely.
And then I'm sending you back. It's like, what? It's just so damaging on so many levels. It's just unbelievable.
Absolutely.
So you heard about Mike's story, you connected with him, and then are you the one that started the GoFundMe?
I am. We established the GoFundMe, and I really appreciate your talking about that, to help Mike with his legal costs for sure, and also his medical costs. I think it's really important to think of the fact that he's 61 years old. He has gout. He has other medical conditions. He doesn't complain, but medical issues for somebody who's lived on their own in a country that they're not really familiar with, and granted 20 years, I get, but still, it's an awful lot for somebody to deal with. And he has family in the United States, his wife, his sons, he has grandchildren that he has never met. And for our U.S. government to believe that that's okay, I find a tragedy. I really do. If we're bringing children into the United States as international adoptees, our Congress is very much in favor of adoption. And yet we are willing to say we will deport international adoptees.
Yeah.
And it's just wrong. They are family members. That should never happen.
Absolutely. Are they working on some sort of new laws around this?
Sure. There's been legislation for at least close to the last 10 years, I would say. And I think a lot of us who have been involved with this work really felt, well, this will be just cleared up like that.
Yeah.
And in fact, no, it has not. It has been introduced in Congress in both the House and the Senate multiple times, the Adoptee Citizenship Act or a variation there. And they oftentimes can't get enough co-sponsors, can't get it onto the floor of the House and the Senate, can't get it to conference. It's just astonishingly frustrating because I think if people understood the lives that are in jeopardy, the promises essentially that were made to adoptees when they were children, when they had no agency over what happened, and whether it was the parents failed to do the paperwork or our U.S. government didn't do the paperwork the right way, it should not matter. They came in as adopted children, family members, that notion of forever family.
Yes.
And our government really needs to act on that. There are a lot of Adoptees for Justice and other organizations are working very hard on that. And it's very tough. And I hope that everybody will contact their congressional representative in the House and the Senate and see if they've co-sponsored the bill for adoptee citizenship.
Okay, I will link that organization, Adoptees for Justice, in the show notes. That's such good information. And so, oh man, it's an area that I have not really spent time thinking about. I've vaguely heard about this happening, but to actually hear his voice and to hear his story and just to imagine his kids and grandkids, for crying out loud, that lost their dad when they were just little kids. And for what? And I can hear some people saying, well, he broke the law, but he served his time. It was a dumb law anyway, but he served his time and he did what he needed to do to clear that off of his name.
And he's had no legal trouble whatsoever since the incident in 1993.
Yeah.
None in the US or in Ethiopia. No legal issues at all.
Yeah. I wonder if he lost electricity.
He could have. The internet might have just gone out.
Is there anything that I missed that I should ask about?
No, I think you hit the main parts. He was very close with his dad. There's no question. As I recall, his dad died during the time that he was in Ethiopia, and he was not allowed to go back for his father's funeral. And again, his father was a U.S. Army officer.
Yeah.
I'm sure a person who complied with all U.S. regulations and so forth to the very best of his ability. And he had to deal with the tragedy of seeing his adopted son deported.
God, that's horrible. Was he his only child, do you know?
Yep.
Oh, jeez. God, just the amount of pain.
I know.
That's terrible. He's calling. Hey, Mike.
We lost connection.
Oh, we lost connection.
Wi-Fi went out.
No problem. We're almost done anyway, and I've been recording Maureen. She's been doing some more explaining things. So can you finish it just on the phone like this?
Yeah, I've tried.
Okay.
What I really want to talk about was the hardship my kids have to go through, my wife have to go through.
Oh, please.
Really, because adoptees build life and, it's taken away from us and our families have to suffer.
Yes, absolutely. How are your kids? Do you talk to them much?
They're grown up now, but once they was grown up, they was homeless. After they come back to America, after they visit me, they went back. They went through extreme hardship, I want people to know this. How difficult it is for our children, for adopted children.
Yes, it is not. It doesn't just end with you. Mm-hmm. Oh, that must just break your heart.
Well, very much so. Whining about them all the time. Now they are okay. My wife's suffering, but my kids are grown up. I want them to go to college. I want them to plan for them, but it didn't happen because of one piece of paperwork.
Yes.
One lazy immigration workers.
Yes.
They would look into my case. Even my crime was before 1996. There's a law that protects me from being deported.
Yes.
But they never looked at that. Their agenda was just deport. But when you deport us, when you deport adoptees, you're also hurting their children, wife, everything. They're hurting them. They are the U.S. citizens.
Absolutely. And now they have kids, right? You have grandkids? Maureen was telling me you had grandkids.
I have 5 grandkids. I've not met them yet.
Oh, that you have never met. Wow. Have you seen them on Zoom?
Oh, yeah, we talk. The connection is so bad, but we talk on the phone.
Oh my gosh.
We do it that way. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
All my kids are grown up.
Okay. Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm sending all my love to you and your whole family, and I'm sure everyone that is listening is. Your case seems so cut and dried and so obvious, completely injustice. But is there any way we can help you besides, we're all going to donate to your GoFundMe. Well, I'll put the link in the show notes. Aside from that, is there any other way that we can help you or other adoptees who might be at risk of deportation? What can we do as an adoption community and allies? What can we do to help you?
Do you know about the Adoptee Citizenship Bill that's in Congress right now?
Yes. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, if they pass a law and then we don't have to go through this, we should get automatic citizenship.
Okay.
I think that this 2000 law that was signed by Bill Clinton, but anybody that's been adopted, I think year 2000 and up, they get automatic citizenship.
Okay, so it's for you that are older. It doesn't apply.
It's not retroactive.
Okay.
When the bill passed, it's only for people that's 18 and under.
Okay. So they're working on another law for older people?
What they're trying to do is trying to retard.
Trying to what?
It should matter what year you're adopted. Once you are legally adopted, you should not make that sense.
Okay. Yes. It seems like that should have always been the case, but obviously it's not. So they're trying to rectify that. So if people contacted their congressperson, do you know the name of that law? Or like a number?
Adoptee Citizenship Act.
Adoptee Citizenship Act.
Yeah. If you go into that Adoptees for Justice, if you go into their website, you'll be able to see it.
Okay, Adoptees for Justice. I'll link that. Maureen was telling me about that. I will link that. And so people could talk to their congressperson, making sure that they're on board with that.
Yeah, if you ask Maureen, she knows more about the adoption bill that's pending right now.
Okay. Do you want to mention anything about that, Maureen?
No, just to say, Adoptee Citizenship Act and Adoptees for Justice is an excellent source. Adoptees United also is a website run by an adoptee. It was a lawyer, Greg Luce. Greg's site, Adoptees United. They also maintain information about the legislation. And the big thing is just what both of you are saying is for folks to contact their congressional office and ask if they are a co-sponsor of the Adoptee Citizenship Act.
Okay, awesome. All right, we'll put all of that in the show notes. This is the time for everybody to do something. Don't just go, oh, it's a sad story. Go do something so no one else has to suffer the way Mike has had to suffer. And he's not alone. As far as I understand, there are several people that we know about that have been deported, and there are countless people that are at risk of being deported. Right? Am I right?
Absolutely. We know of at least one adoptee who died by suicide in Korea. We know another who was killed in Brazil. So to say that adoptees have suffered, and they have been deported to almost every country. So it's a huge issue for an awful lot of people, and especially for those who don't know they are not citizens.
Yes. Okay, everybody, get on board with this and let's get some help out there. Let's get these laws changed. And the Supreme Court and the pro-adoption people out there need to come through.
Absolutely.
They're so pro-adoption, they need to support the adoptees after they get here, crying out loud. Okay.
And including adoptive parents, whether their kids are citizens or not. I would love to see an awful lot more adoptive parents demanding citizenship for all adoptees as well.
Absolutely. Adoptive parents, especially transracially adoptive parents, let's kind of get on this bandwagon and help out. We're part of this whole system and we can be a squeaky wheel. Right. Let's use our access and privilege that we have to really make some noise about this issue. Very good. Mike, I will give you the last word. What would you like to say to our audience?
Support our bill.
Support the bill.
No adoptee should never be deported.
Absolutely.
We should not have to suffer like this. We build a family, we lose the biological parents to adoption, then we build our life, then they have to suffer. Yeah. This is double jeopardy.
Absolutely.
It's not right.
Absolutely, it's not right. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your story. It's very important for us to hear, and we'll try to get the word out for you. All right.
Thank you.
Everyone, like I said, go check out the GoFundMe and the links to the legal organizations. And while you're at it, go look at Unraveling Adoption. There's lots of events and resources there for everybody to get involved as much as you can, as much as you're able.
And a quick reminder that we do have a Patreon account if you're interested in helping us maintain our commercial-free status as a podcast and help support the work we're doing here. You can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/unravelingadoption. You can join for as little as $5 a month. And I want to welcome our newest Patreon supporter. Thank you so much to Katie B for becoming a Patreon supporter. We appreciate you and all our wonderful Patreon supporters who have helped us so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all for listening. And Mike, Maureen, and I want you all to stay safe.